Hey everyone, if you have an elk tag this season or are helping a friend out by calling for them, then you need to go check out and order these new custom BowhuntingAZ elk calls. These custom reeds are by the brand we all know and trust, Native by Carlton. Each call showcases the custom BowhuntingAZ logo as well as the new Elk Series logo. Their Rip It series of calls bring quality sound and pure domination to the playing field. Offered at only $11 each, you couldn't ask for a better offer. Order yours today while supplies last. There is a limited quantity, so don't wait. www.BowhuntingAZ.com. Backwoods Grind. I don't know about you guys, but I'm a huge coffee nut. I like my coffee strong and a solid flavor to back it up. The guys over at Backwoods Grind have it going on. I get my coffee shipped every 2 weeks to me automatically, and you can choose whole bean or different variations of ground. You can opt for a one-time purchase, bi-weekly, or monthly basis. Backwoods Grind is a coffee that goes beyond the mug. From traditions to memories and long-lasting relationships, these are all built upon the passion brought to you by their blends, specifically roasted for hunters and outdoorsmen alike. Be sure to check out their 3 newly released blends, Camp House, Fireside, and Nightcap. Visit backwoodsgrind.com and use code BAZ10 to get 10% off your order. I'd also like to thank Racks. Racks is hands down the coolest bow hangers on the market. Display your bow with pride in your house, your garage, or anywhere you'd like. They carry most major bow brands while also offering a custom service if you have an idea or logo of your own that you'd like to make into a bow hanger. Use them to display your traditional bow, compound bow, or crossbow. They also work great for hanging your hunting gear, bags, or hats. Not to mention, the designs look just plain awesome all by themselves. A Racks hanger makes for a great gift for that special hunter in your life. Go to racksinc.com. That's RAXXINC.com to see some of the available designs or contact Racks to discuss a custom hanger of your own. If you'd like to see how sick their custom hangers are, go check out my Instagram feed. For listeners of the BowhuntingAZ podcast, use the promo code PODCAST and get 15% off your order. Racks, show off your passion. Open Country Optics. Open Country Optics is your #1 online source for optics and optics rentals. With quality Swarovski glass before your eyes, Open Country Optics brings the game closer. Rentals include a tripod, binos, and you can even add on a phone scope or foldable chair to glass from. All of the optics arrive in a durable Pelican case with insulated foam. You won't find any other company who provides you an all-inclusive package like Open Country Optics. Visit them today at opencountryoptics.com. Use promo code BHAZ and get 5% off rentals or $50 off any optics purchase. Open Country Optics, bringing the game closer. Scent Assassin. Scent Assassin, the new leader in scent elimination. Scent Assassin manufactures the latest technology in scent elimination spray, body wash, and laundry detergent. Forget the wind, hunt anywhere, anytime. Check out their full product line at scentassassin.com. Use promo code BowhuntingAZ for 20% off your order. Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the BowhuntingAZ podcast. In this episode, I recorded the annual elk hunting seminar hosted by Christian Hunters of America. Our guest speaker for the seminar was the infamous Ralph Ramos, sponsored by brands like Mossy Oak, PSE, and Hex. Jake and I had an absolute blast this year out at the seminar, and I just want to thank each and every one of you that stopped by the booth for your support and kind words. It's great to break the social media barriers and put a face to a name. Ralph covers a myriad of topics and really drops all the knowledge we could ever hope for pertaining to elk hunting. Let's jump on into the episode.
All right. How's Arizona doing tonight? Okay. All right. Yeah. All right. Thank you. Thank you. Here we go. Hey, are we having a good time tonight? All right. Let's clap once if we're having a good time. All right. Twice if we're having a really good time. All right. right. Hey, we're ready, Corky.
I don't know about these New Mexicans, man.
All right.
First of all, let's find out who has elk tags. It's a big deal to get drawn here
right.
in Arizona. So who has elk tags?
Look at that.
Stand up for a minute. Just everybody that's got an elk tag this year, stand up. And yes, I get to stand up legitimately this year. I got one. So all the people sitting down, these are the people that took your tags. So I just want to let you know all that. So all the people that are sitting down, let's trade up a little bit. You guys stand up, and you tag sitters, getters, you can sit down. So out of all the people that did not draw, who here has more than 10 points? Anybody? Okay, we got a guy way back there. Anybody more than 10 points? Wow, that's getting pretty good. So you have more than 10 points. You have 11? All right, on behalf of Ralph and I, come on up. You're used to coming up here anyway. You're a great food donor. Ralph and I wanted to give you a Bowhunting in Arizona record book. If you guys didn't know, we finally got the new latest edition out. You know, we've been doing this since 1980. And this book has every species that we have in Arizona. And what's neat about it is it has the unit that it was taken in, the time of day, all that kind of stuff. It's a spectacular book. And I think we're the only state that puts together a book of this caliber and quality. A lot of the members that have put those on, myself, a past member, are here today. And you can see them out there. It has over 3,500 entries. So if you really want to learn where to go, but everybody in here needs to know where to go, except for you. Because Ralph and I have, since you have 11 points, we're going to give you this book. And our name and address is right up there on the top because we get drawn by bonus points. You can put in with us next year and we'll take you and go kill an elk. So it's kind of a deal, kind of a little suck-up deal, but
I like this guy here. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Congratulations.
You donated since I got the gift card?
Totally up to you.
All right, pointer man.
All right, let's get started.
Combined, when Ralph sent me what he has done as his accomplishments, it was a bunch. And so I just kind of put together some combined stuff. We've been hunting elk together over 68 years with our different people, and that's guiding and hunting ourselves. Together, we've taken over 550 elk. Whether we've killed them, we can't do that legally. No. In my mind, I have, though. Or guided for them. So it's been, and Ralph, the lion's share of those, but that's a lot. And Ralph was telling me on the truck, on the ride up here, so how many, yours is 380?
368.
368. I was going to give him 386, so I was counting this year.
And about 1,500 follies that I learned from to get to the 368.
Yeah, that was the number. He said 1,500 setups to kill those 368 elk, so I thought that was pretty neat. We've hunted in 5 different states, and Ralph and I have had the pleasure of being on all kinds of fun stuff, on videos and television shows and magazines and all that kind of stuff. And I can tell you from me, and I know from Ralph too, that that's only a God-given thing that we got blessed with a long time ago. And I think all that would go away if we didn't share it with others. So our goal tonight is to help you out. We're wanting you to have your questions answered. I've had some questions that were already sent in on our website, and then I've got some that other folks asked me about earlier that we're going to cover today. I'm going to let Ralph go a lot because you guys have heard me before. Hands in the room who've heard me talk before, yeah, so they're probably tired of me. So what I do like about Ralph, though, is I found a guy that has the enthusiasm that I do. And, I've known Ralph for a long time on the videos, and we both shoot for PSE for, all this gray hair, we earned it. But
that's right.
I actually got a hunt with him in Quebec, Canada, on a species that you can no longer hunt anymore.
18 years ago.
You can't hunt caribou anymore. And Ralph and I met on that. And what did we have in camp? 18 people?
18, and we took 32 bulls on that hunt.
Yeah, 36, he can't count. New Mexico's a little off on that. But you're allowed 2 bulls apiece, and we had 18, we killed 36 bulls.
Right.
But anyway, Ralph and I's hunting style is exactly the same. We figured them out right away. They're just big old antelope with big racks on. So we figured that we got to, and they got eat up with black flies. And
that we did. That was about 1,500 of those as well that we got bit by.
Yeah, oh yeah, each day. But anyway, so we kind of, hooked up and bonded then, and then we've been, hunting together since then. But anyway, Ralph's style is, I told him, I said, this is like a dance. I'm going to tell you guys how to get to the barn, and he's going to tell you how to do the steps. Ralph's steps that he's developed over the years are amazing, and at that, I'll let you go, and I'll interject there, and I'll slow him down every now and then. These New Mexico guys, we got to watch them. They did go blue this year, so we got to, So,
yeah, I hear you. Hey, I'm here. I appreciate you having me. I want to just, I'm so thankful to the good Lord to be in this house tonight. Just to, I owe it all to him because he's challenged me through my 30 years of elk hunting, where I've really dissected every mistake and tried to reflect on what can I do better, what went wrong, what can we do, to set up differently, all these type of things. But let's take about 20 seconds right now. You and your neighbor right now, what do you want to learn here tonight? It's your time. 20 seconds. It's yours. All right, that's a good one. I like that.
We actually talked about that on the way up here.
All right. Yeah, I don't see y'all engaged. Gosh, this is a classroom here. Come on now. I'm a middle school principal, by the way, 1,000 kids at my school, and boy, let me tell you, that's where the gray hair comes from. All right. Yes, sir. So what do you want to learn today? Finding sign, elk sign. Okay, very good. We'll definitely, hopefully, also help you locate elk as well. What about you all? What did you all discuss? What do you want to learn tonight?
How to go to the silent bulls when they go quiet.
How to work silent bulls when they go quiet. I call those alligator bulls, absolutely, and we'll talk about that, you bet. What about back here? Yes, sir.
Cow calling techniques, or calling techniques for...
Cow calling techniques, all kinds of techniques. Look at this. We have a couple calls here that we put together.
You guys ever watch that cartoon, Mr. Gadget?
That's right. You need calls, multiple cow calls, and that's what I'm known for doing. Definitely, absolutely. What about over here? What do we want to learn today? What's that? How to get drawn. That's Corky's department. I think the best way is to get the highest number and put in, I guess.
Do elk seminars and give away books to find the guys with a lot of points. That's what I do.
There you go. I tell you what, I'm jam-packed. My learning objective today is to teach you some modern elk calling strategies, techniques, for public land, okay? I think public land is the most difficult. Why? Because we have all kinds of cruisers and four-wheelers and ATVs, and just trying to do your homework prior to the hunt is really important. I'll be talking about that. But before we get into that, I am really excited and really appreciative that there's a lot of women in here today. There's kids in here today. Gentlemen, I tell you what, these are the best callers. That's our future. Kids, thank you for being here. Again, kids, please, number one, stay off of drugs. Get high on hunting. Get high on the outdoors. Get high on Jesus Christ. He's here tonight with us. And with that, we'll get started, okay? So, again, learning objective is new techniques. So let's start out really simple. Hunting equipment. It's really important to know your equipment, whether you're rifle hunting, archery hunting, muzzleloader hunting. It's really important to know your stuff on that. Do your homework, and just know your equipment. If you want to do a cow call, you can just blow on your call and get a cow call. If you want a little calf call, you want to go ahead and do that. If you want to bugle, you want to go ahead and be able to just blow on that call and get that sound that you want. So practice makes you successful out in the field. The other thing is knowing your limitations. Knowing your limitations and your kill zone, that is really important. I like this slide right here. I think the key thing, especially, and I'm going to talk about archery a lot, but I'll tell you what, you definitely can use these skills into the muzzleloader and rifle hunting as well. I start September 1. That's when elk hunting starts in New Mexico. I got to be honest with you. You can call in elk September 1 all the way into November for that matter. I hunt them through that rifle hunt in October. You can stimulate them, you can induce them, and we'll talk about that to give up their location, bugling, and then you can go in and throw in your strategy. So we'll hone in on that, this evening as well. But the kill zone is extremely important. And if you look at this right here, you know, I think a lot of people tend to aim for the back, that crease that's right there. And I think that's just too far back. There's not a lot of goodies. I'm not saying that elk isn't going to, you know, die and expire, but you know what? He's going to go a long way. What you really want to do, if you look at all these 3 diagrams, basically go right up that leg, you know what, about 10 to 11 inches from the bottom, the brisket, the sternum area. And I'll tell you what, you're going to be right in the middle of that heart, right there in the middle. If you hit high, you know, let's say 6 inches even, you know what, you're still going to be in the goodies, a double lung shot. Very important. I tell you, as soon as my hunters come into camp, we go over this and I stick it in their head because I've just had too many trail jobs. Of course, you know, chasing these elk, when you hit them in that crease, especially when they're broadside. Now, if they're going away from you, obviously the best shot is about, you know, 10, 11, 12 inches up high, and you're going to double lung them, and it's a done deal. But that is the most important thing. And by the way, I'm going to go ahead and post this on my Facebook. That's Ramos Hunts and Video, and either Instagram or Facebook, and I'll post this diagram. But this is something that you need to put in your phone just to review it. That way you'll know what's going on. This is what I tell people. Number one is that you got to know your personal limitations. Your limitations as far as shooting. Get you a 6-inch pie plate, shoot it at 20 yards, 3 arrows. You get them in there, you're ready to go to 30 yards. Shoot 3 more, you go to 40. As soon as you get 1 arrow outside of that 6-inch pie plate, that's your maximum zone. That's how I see it for elk hunting. I'm hoping that tonight you learn some strategies to at least get a bull within 25 to 18 yards to go ahead and get that perfect shot, okay? Any questions on your limitations and the kill zone? All right, let's cover some more ground. Elk scouting from home. I like to do my homework, you know, basically with Google Maps. I think there's some awesome Onyx, you know, GPS programs out there. I like Gaia GPS. GAIA is a great program. It has all the topo maps in there. It's like $9 for the app. I like it almost better than the Onyx. Onyx does have all the private properties in there, but for clarity and simplicity, that Gaia, you just can't beat it, and it follows on your phone. The thing I like about it is I put my phone on that airplane mode, and it saves my battery, and yet it still picks up all your GPS coordinates and all that stuff. So it's a pretty cool program. But I like to have plan A, plan B, and plan C. Corky, why do we need 3 plans?
Because when we're going up scouting and we're looking at this beautiful field and we see it 3 weekends before the season and there's elk standing in it and they stand till 9 o'clock in the morning and you show up for your hunt, that beautiful field has 3 motorhomes, 18 ATVs, and a jumpy house for the kids. And so it changes. So you got to have another backup plan that's going to be a little bit different than what you scouted.
Absolutely. And you've always got to have that plan A, B, or C, or you pull up and there's a truck already there. And, you know, and it is public land. But you know what, having that respect, and that's the thing I really enjoy about bow hunters. There's a lot of great respect there, you know, for that, and we work on that. But number one, Arizona, New Mexico, find the water source and begin there. Elk are real lazy critters. You know, they like to be out here in this riparian wet zone, wherever the water's at, you know, all night long. And then as soon as traffic starts coming in, or it's about 40 minutes before daylight, they start working their way up the mountain, and they find that north slope, and that's where they bed up for the day. So we'll talk more about locating elk in a little bit, but keep that in mind. And that's kind of what I like to do. I like to also get I'm old school, I like to get a white map with my GPS, you know, print that out, and then I highlight areas with just a highlighter yellow. I like to look at all my ridge lines, you know, throughout that whole map, because you can park an ATV about 3 miles up the road and park and drive in over here on your vehicle and then walk in from point A to point B. And then you have a choice where if you kill something, you know, to go either to the ATV or to the truck, you know, just make things a little bit. I like to hunt smarter, not harder. I tend, especially kicking into 50, that's how old I am. Boy, let me tell you, these miles do tend to wear on you. You want to see something on
age? Who here prefers a hard map that you hold in your hand? Everybody's got gray and white hair, and I'm for it too. It's kind of old school. Nowadays, my buddy's not here, at least I don't see him, but we'll call him, let's just call him a random name, John. That actually is his name, but we won't give a last name. John is not, he's I guess almost a millennial, but he's a GPS phone guy, and those are great but when your batteries go bad, it's like, I don't know what to do. And it's like, oh, I got a map. It works too. Got a little lunch on it, but it works.
That's right.
Yeah.
And Corky, and the cool thing about it is you do your homework. Summertime is perfect for that. You go out on a camping trip, figure out how you're going to walk in early, in the morning in the dark, and kind of where you kind of learn that lay of the land. And it also builds confidence, because I got to be honest with you, a lot of people that last hour of the hunting day, they tend to start heading back to camp, leaving a whole hour prime time to be right there, when the elk are moving and starting to bugle and really get super active again. So, you know what? It builds your confidence, if anything else, to be out there at least till dark and knowing how to get back to your vehicle. But anything else on that, Corky? Any questions on scouting? All right. Yes, sir.
So you said follow them up the north slope. Is that in the summer, the winter time?
That's pretty much year round, and the denser and the more, I guess, public is out there, they tend to go into these hidden places a little bit more. But they like to bed up throughout the day. They've been active all night long, and then they move into these north slopes where they bed up for the whole day. Great question.
That's a north-facing slope is what he's talking about, because it's cooler there during the day. Basically, it's the side of the hill that the sun's not shining on. So when you're glassing, we do a lot of glassing out here because it's very similar to New Mexico. We can see a long way. So if you're going to look for elk bedded in the middle of the day, where do you need to be? What side? South side. Basic way to remember it is if you're in the sunshine, you're on the right side. If you're in the sunshine looking into the shadows, that's what you got to be. So it's real simple that way. If you're uncomfortable, you're in the right spot. Same with Coues deer. You need to be sitting in the sun, looking into the shadows. So I always tell guys, if you're in a tree and you're getting into the shade to do your glassing, you're looking the wrong way. You're looking where you should look in the morning. So it's a real simple thing.
Thanks for sharing that, Corky. Hey, let's go ahead and move into elk calls. You guys probably are freaking out because I have all these calls right here wrapped into one. Well, let's talk a little bit about those, because I like to work with a bunch of different calls. Number one is, let's talk about bugle calls. Here's a Wayne Carlton bugle. Real simple call. It has a push button right here. You stick it in your mouth, you blow in it, and you control that latex pressure with this button right here. Very an awesome call. And actually, it sounds pretty good. And I got to be honest with you, when I'm elk calling, this is one call that it's real simple. You don't need something nasty and gnarly, like these, elk world champion calling contests, something like this. You don't need something like that to be calling an elk. A lot of times you intimidate those bulls, but it sounds pretty cool. And there are times that you want to challenge that herd bull when you've already tracked behind him, but most of the time you just need something real similar to this call. Something simple, but you don't also need a huge call like this one here. Here's an Abe & Sons new product that he's trying to work on and patent. You don't necessarily need a big bugle tube like that to be out in the woods. Look at this little old Rocky Mountain, Rocky Jacobson's call. You can make all kinds of bugles with this one, sound real aggressive as well. And that's what I have on this call right here. I have this call right here. It's real simple, small, so I know I have a bugle tube right here on my pack here. So I try to condense everything here as well. Now, what you're going to find out is that, just like this Wayne Carlton call, a lot of these calls come with a mouthpiece. This is that Abe & Sons. Real real simple call. You know, pretty much anybody can use that if you don't use a diaphragm. I like using the diaphragm. It makes it a little bit more easier to kind of vary your tones as you go. But I like these mouthpieces because I pop them off and make some cow calls as well with these mouthpieces, and that's kind of what I've done with some of these mouthpieces that you see on my package here. You know, I want varied tones, and we'll get more into that here in a little bit. But don't be afraid to get your bugle tube. Here's another Primo's mouthpiece. They're kind of universal, all these mouthpieces. You can put a Primo's into an Abe and Sons and the Abe and Sons into the Primo's. You know, so don't be afraid to mix and match your calls, and that's kind of what I've done right here on this one here. But you know, and here's another Primo's call that you can just pop off that mouthpiece and I heard a cow out here, a little calf. That sounds pretty good. Yeah. And the other thing I like to do is I like to get a little bit of foam a lot of times, and I'll stuff that foam. And if you're rifle hunting in October and you're trying to call in an elk, whether it's a cow or even a bull, just using a lost calf sound like this right here, you might start out a little bit loud just because you know, might be a windy morning. And then you can muffle it down with some foam. You know, any lost calf, you know, a mama's going to come in looking for it, especially when there's this big old trail right here and there's droppings on this saddle. You know what? Those elk are going to be around there. If you can smell them, you're in a good place. And that's where you can just continue calling over and over like that, little calf call, and you're going to call in those elk, you know, even in November in those rifle cow hunts. I've called in bulls in December in New Mexico during the cow hunt at that time, where the bulls will also come in looking and searching. Remember, these cows come into heat around September 1. They start trickling in, always normally till about the 20th of September. And if they didn't get bred right in through that time frame, they come in every 20, 23 days until they get bred. At least, you know, that's why sometimes in November, Corky, you hear these bulls bugling and getting ruddish again, you know, on that. So
Ralph, all these calls that you've got, so a guy's out here and any first-time elk hunters, you guys are just starting out, what are you going to tell them that they can get? Probably the one with the latex, with the replaceable latex on it?
Absolutely. Very simple call. This is a Primo's call. You definitely, number one, need a bugle tube. If you have a big one already at home, a large tube, that's great. But I like having at least one bugle tube. I actually like two at least, a small one and a big one if I'm going to be out in the field. But this is like the bare bone minimum that I would carry in the field was these three right here. I have actually almost three bugle tubes right here, but I like to use them again for cow calls. And we'll talk more about that. But the other thing that you want to do is there's some other calls like these reed calls. In fact, a good friend of mine, I'm sure a lot of you knew him, was Norm Pint from Arizona. He invented the hyper hot call that all these other companies also duplicated after that. But listen to this cow call. Real high, whiny call. It's a cow and estrus call, but it's a high-pitched call, and it works really well. I also like to have a low tone. Hear the difference? Now, which one works better? You know what? It varies from day to day. Here's a Primo's single lip. You hear that? Oh. You want that nasally sound when you're producing that call. It sounds more realistic, you know, more natural. It's kind of like this one right here, another Wayne Carlton call. It's a deeper, throatier cow. The other thing I did with this Wayne Carlton was I stuck a little piece of foam in there just to muffle it up, sounding a little bit more natural, not as plasticky as some of these other calls. Now, there's also mornings that might be super loud and windy, and that doesn't mean that these bulls aren't bugling. In fact, I've had September mornings where the wind is just blowing, 40, 50 miles an hour. What are you going to do, stay at camp? Wrong. We're going to be out there still chasing the elk. You got to get a little bit louder. Isn't that just super loud? Boy, it's high pitched. But even sometimes when the bulls aren't bugling as well, I'll even throw a long ranger, this Wayne Carlton call out there, and that'll induce them and stimulate them to give up their location so you can move in and work with them. We also have some simple calls. This is the Hoochie Mama. This is the mini Hoochie Mama. I'm sorry talking dirty like this in this building, but anyway, here. You want to sound like multiple elk. That's the main reason why I like to.
Now, when I take hunters, Ralph, I give them this because they can't mess that up.
They can't mess it up.
Put your thumb on it and push. And it's kind of nice to get the distance, like I'm over here doing and then they're answering back. It sounds more realistic, Push the button.
That's right. And you just want to have multiple tones when you're out there, calling and working on that. But again, if you look at my conglomeration of calls here, I have you have a good hyper call. And if I wanted to, I could even pop that out as I go, but more than likely have another one in my pocket or something else, so I got plenty of calls all the time. But don't be afraid to use your calls. Here's another Abe and Sons. Notice the different tones.
And Ralph, you bounce back and forth between these calls, and whatever they respond to most, that's what you're going to use.
Absolutely. A lot of times what I like to do is to produce a sound combination, especially when I'm locating elk first thing in the morning and you're working this ridge line, is I like to sound like a lead cow with a calf. And then the calf, kind of like when you go to the mall. You know how it is with a little kid. They run off. Hey, where are you going? Over here, over here. And then the little kid, where are you going? Oh, over here. You just respond. You're talking. You're having conversation. Elk are very vocal critters. And that's why I like to utilize all these calls. And if I want to sound like a big bull, I'll give them a loud. That's a Dillon Fox Pro call. I really like this valve that it has. It comes with a tube that's about this long, just too long to be carrying around, because not only do I walk around with calls, I also carry these horns around with me when I'm out in the field. Okay, and I'm going to get this mic messed up, but this is really easy to carry these horns. Okay, and I'm going to talk more about rattling elk at the end of my seminar. Let me tell you, if you're not hunting with horns, it's kind of like not hunting with a bugle tube or cow calls or anything like that. Any questions on calls so far? Yes, sir.
Are you using mouthpiece with all that?
I'm using the original mouthpieces that you see here, but I also have this diaphragm. Yes, sir. So I can kind of have a combination of calls and stuff. One thing that I strongly recommend is when you use a diaphragm, especially when they're brand new, is stick it in your mouth and leave it in your mouth for 20, 30 minutes, because you're going to soften up that latex, and then you can really get your sounds that you want. If you don't soften it up, you're not going to be able to throw a variance, okay? Kind of like this. One thing that I recommend when you use a diaphragm is over-exaggerate with your lips. You see what I'm talking about? That's what creates the different sounds that you know, if you want a loud and whiny, you know, throw some moaning sounds in there. Sound realistic. If I was just to throw a diaphragm cow call, it'd sound like this. Can you hear that flutter at the end? You know, that's a loose latex, okay? So strongly recommend for anybody just getting started, get a single reed call. That's going to give you the best sounds and the easiest to use. I still use that one, you know, just to give you that versatility with your diaphragm. But don't be afraid to use your mouth and your lips to give you that, you know, those varied tones.
We had a question right here in the middle, right here.
Right here, yes, sir.
I just want to see you do the lip thing again. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
What would be your most versatile humor suit? So like right now I have like Rocky Mountain, I think just big one, but like so if you're backpacking in, for instance, you can't take.
Perfect. Great question. In fact, I would definitely, if I was packing in, I'd take at least 3 right here. Little combo. But I'd definitely take a reed call. I'd take, you know, 3 or 4 of those, and I'd have maybe 4 or 5 more stashed in my backpack. No, just because I do have a lot of calls all the time. And if they're not hitting and you're in that backpack
Rob
hunt.
has a Sherpa that carries his calls around.
you know, and then I had a gentleman say, you carry that around even when you're bow hunting? Okay, I got to be honest with you. When I'm hunting by myself, okay, I carry at least this pack right here. I would carry a longer lanyard where it hangs and it's just out of the way when I'm fixing to shoot or whatever. But I like to stimulate those bulls and locate them. And if I can't get onto them or stimulate them to know where they're at, guess what? I may not end up coming home with a bull.
So in that group right there, I think you said you had the Rocky Jacobson, and then what were the other 2?
This is a flex tone, Abe and Sons call. This is a Primo's, actually a moose horn call. I have the same moose horn right here. I even melted it a little bit to kind of put it together, use some heat, my heat gun and stuff. So I've just kind of modified them for myself, and then I'll throw a little bit of foam in them to make them sound a little different. But just a simple tube, you know, having a packet of calls definitely is work. And
If Ralph ever sits down his calls and loses them, I'll call you guys because you'll find a $675 worth of calls in one little lanyard. So,
knock on wood, I haven't done that yet, Quirky, but man, let me tell you, I would cry if I lost these calls right here, and that's probably about right what I have in here. You also asked about a versatile call that I really like, is this Dillon call. It's a Fox Pro call. I like it because of this check valve. You can really vary your tones. By just opening and closing that valve. Okay, even when you bugle, I like that. Jeff throws a sound here and there. Boy, that keeps that bull, when he's coming in, he's wondering, okay, yeah, he's coming, you know, you kind of keep him off guard a little bit, you know, and coming in. But it seems to work pretty good when you have that versatility on there.
Seems like you don't have to necessarily put body movement, like the repetition, trying to cover that sound up and like redirect it. I mean, you can just kind of focus that one area instead of trying to
Instead of throwing your sounds to the right or to the left. Sure, and even if you did that, that even gives you more variables there, depending on where that elk's at and where he's coming from. And we'll talk more about that in a little bit. Yes, sir?
Any considerations you take for, let's say, a December hunt? I mean, obviously.
December hunt, the call that I recommend is that lost calf call. Mama, 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 where are you? Mama, mama, you know, just keeps going like that. December hunt, that's what I strongly recommend. You bet. We had a question back here.
Yeah, how much and how often are you calling?
Okay, and I'm going to get into that. That's the next portion, okay? All right, yes, sir.
How late can you call in the year for bulls?
For bulls, you know what? I hunt them from September 1 into the 3rd week in October in New Mexico. That's during the bugling season, and that's from day 1 till that third weekend in October, I hunt them the same way, and that's exactly what I'm fixing to get into.
My hunt is the first week of December.
Okay?
Okay, so through December, anytime you're hunting a cow call, I carry this all the time. I carry it because Norm Pint gave it to me. But I hit this at any time. In November this past year, anybody have November tags or you're out in November? What a snowstorm mess that was, right? But we got to where we could run around and look for these bulls that were, bedded, and we could jump them, and as long as we would hit a call, they would stop. It always stops them. So no matter what time of the year you have a call in your hand, and when you see them, hit that call. Even if they're running off, a bull will stop to look back. They just there's an elk over there. They're very vocal. They're very, they're all the time talking. So any time of the year. So yeah, most of our rifle hunts are, later in November. Yes, sir. With the new rifle, go ahead. Hoorah.
Calling, like you're talking about calling bulls, what about cows?
Yeah.
That lost calf call?
Yes, sir.
Like, I have a October early cow. So.
We were talking about that on the way over here, huh?
I got to be honest with you. If I had a cow tag, I'd be locating the bulls because that's where the cows are going to be. That's prime peak of the season, and then I would move in. These units, depending where you're at, which unit. If you have some open cedars and stuff, you can go ahead and locate them that way and work on that. You bet.
Now, in the months leading up, scouting, still practice your calling to see if you can locate them in some?
Absolutely. Again, find the water. More than likely, that's where the elk are going to be. And don't be afraid to, go at least a mile off of a main road, and hunt and look for them.
Let me put some Arizona interjection
Sure.
into that. Our elk hunts are back to back to back to back. So we have, most time our archery hunts are the first hunt. Then there's like a muzzleloader hunt or an early cow hunt. And then there's a trophy bull hunt, and then there's a late rifle hunt, and then there's a late cow hunt. Remember this, you guys, on the kindness side of things, that somebody else has a tag before you. Kind of respect that a little bit. I wouldn't be out there early in the morning bugling during the archery season if you've got a tag in November. It's just not a cool thing to do. I wouldn't want that. So just kind of think of that. Would I want somebody out during my season doing that? You got to kind of remember that. So just as a respect thing.
I'll be going up, as many weekends as I can from here on out.
Yeah.
Even now,
Right.
this summer.
Right. I got to be honest with you. When I go scouting, I go scout for the lay of the land because I'm going to rely on these to locate them during the hunt. So just learning, and again, getting that plan A, B, C, and D ready, and those type of areas. Okay? All right. Thank you. Great questions. All right. So teamwork produces elk. I got to be honest with you. My job is that I get hired to guide my hunters, and I have probably 3 days to get it done. We've been averaging 1 bull every 2 days, which is really cool. And that way I can get back to work on Sunday night, work on Monday morning, and we're all good. But sometimes you do have to go in those extra days. But teamwork is what produces elk, and I like to do the calling. Obviously, there's different roles and whatnot on that. We do, we have the X zone, and I like to talk about the X zone a little bit. I think it's really important to understand this concept of team calling. Number one is that you do have the hunter in the middle of the X. Then you have the caller behind the shooter, and then obviously when that bull bugles, whether he's in front of you, you adjust to that, to that bull. But I'm kind of getting a little bit ahead of myself. But let me tell you what I like to do is right from the get-go. I like to wake up early in the morning. We're walking up this long ridge. Remember, we parked my ATV 3 miles down the road. I made it on top. It's still dark. As soon as I get up on top, I like to hit some real soft cow calls. No bugles. I still didn't hear a bugle. I'm trying to entice a bull to give up his location. It's still semi-dark. It's almost legal shooting hours, maybe in 3-4 minutes or so. And still I didn't hear a bull bugle. So then I may go into a bugle. Nothing super loud, but if there's something there, more than likely they're going to at least chuckle at you or make some kind of a sound, for you. But what I like to do is if I didn't hear anything and it's legal shooting hours, okay, let's start working this ridge. Let's start working at least, 40, 50 yards. I like to be calling while I'm walking. I like to throw some cow calls. Nothing real super loud or anything, but I like to at least work my way on top of that ridge, trying to entice something. If that doesn't work, then I'll throw a bugle. I'll try to start out with a small bugle. It's something, just kind of, one of the things that I kind of have as a rule of thumb is that a herd bull normally will be screaming at his cows. Remember, they're down in the meadows, they're watering all night long, and then he's pushing those cows up that slope, headed towards the north slope to bed up for the day. So herd bulls tend to sound like just screaming bulls like this. They're just pushing cows and bugling. You don't hear a whole lot of chuckling. Normally your satellite bulls are the ones that are out locating. Where are the elk? Kind of like what you're doing. And maybe chuckle with that. But that's kind of like a rule of thumb, especially when you hear a bull, popping every 20, 30 seconds. Just pushing those cows, demanding them to keep moving, to settle in for the day. All right, so we're continuing to work this ridge line, and still I haven't heard anything. So I keep working it. A lot of times, especially, when does the season start in Arizona? September 13th. So, but by the 13th, they should be talking already. And one of the things that I always hear is, well, they're talking in unit so-and-so, and they're not talking in 4B, but they're talking in 9 a little. And I got to be honest with you. You got to entice them a little bit. I had an opportunity to hunt with Larry Jones, and we were hunting the Gila just on the other side of the Arizona border in Unit 15, and the bulls, it was a dry year, and it was hot that year, and the bulls weren't real active, but one thing I learned was that you've got to stimulate them, and you got to produce them to bugle. So he started, we were in this one spot, we got to this one saddle on top of that ridge, and God, man, it smells like elk, and we had called, nothing answered. I said, okay, so you know what? Let's go in and set up. So we had the hunter with the bow. We sat by a log. He got a little bit of like in front of a tree or whatnot. I sat like maybe 10 yards behind him. And then we're hunting with Dwight Shue as well. And Larry and I were doing the calling. So we start arguing back and forth. He bugled, I bugled. He bugled, I would bugle back. I would moan bugle at him, he'd moan back, and we just kept firing it. Before I knew it, I heard coming up down below us, up towards that saddle. And a little while ago, somebody here asked me, what do you do with silent bulls, alligator bulls? That's what I call it. I like to keep producing those sounds over and over. Even early in the season, they're not bugling, but they hear you, and you just need to set up. It's kind of like calling in coyotes. You set up in one stand between 20 to 45 minutes. Sometimes it takes at least that time. So you got to stay there and keep calling. And those bulls will sneak in. They won't even bugle. They may moan a little bit, but more than likely, they're just going to sneak in. But you got to be on guard and on point, have that arrow knocked. And that's where we go. Did I answer your question here? You asked it earlier. So that's kind of where I go with that. But I do, and a lot of times I'll set up in one stand, especially when it's like, let's say 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock. The bulls normally are bedded by 9, at least in the early archery season. And so what I like to do is to set up in these high places, maybe by a north slope, check the wind, make sure that's right, and then just start cow calling back and forth. A lot of times midday, I remember I had Pete Shepley out in the Gila, and Pete wanted to take a little siesta. It was about 11 o'clock, and I just start calling, and I told him, Pete, I know you're trying to take a nap, but I'm going to be calling at least every 10 minutes or so, just to let other elk know we're here. Lo and behold, after about a 30-minute, every 10 minutes or so, I'd bugle or cow call. Here comes the bull rolling in, and he's right there just standing looking at us, laying down. And but anyway, so you never know how, the key thing is you got to entice these bulls to give up their location and stimulate them to come in. All right? Okay, so we're still working this ridge line. I hit some cow calls. All of a sudden, he bugled. Hey, all right, good deal. Hey, game's on now. All right, so I need a volunteer. Young man, you're going to be my hunter today. How does that sound? All right, come on up here, and I've got a video for you. All right, look. Hey, guess what? We just found this one bull. He bugled right down here, okay? You have your PSC bow right there. What we're going to do is most hunters, you know what? They go into stealth mode. They don't want to make any noises or sounds or anything. I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're going to pick up the tempo, and we're going to walk in, at least this move in. We knew he bugled. He was out there about 200-300 yards, so we're going to close in that gap, okay? We don't have time to waste. We're going to kind of go in. In fact, we have the wind right now, and it's kind of in our favor, at least 75% of the time. So we're just going to move towards where that bull was bugling, okay? So we moved in, and all of a sudden, here's a nice tree, okay? So we're going to go ahead and set you up right here. Okay? And what's going to happen is most of the time when bow hunters hear a bull bugling over there, naturally they're going to kneel down with their knees headed in that direction, okay? So what we want to do is we actually want to put our knees to the right of where that bull is coming if you're right-handed. Because what happens when you draw your bow, your torso can shoot them all the way over here, and you can shoot them over here. But what happens a lot of times when you're here, the bull's going to come to our right, and then you got to move your feet, and you make too much noise, that bull, he busts you, and he's gone. The other thing that's critical here is when I start calling that bull in, when he gets to about 40 yards, it's time to start thinking, time to draw this bow and get to full draw so he can present you a shot. Does that sound good? All right, and the cool thing is that I rely on my mossy oak camouflage, so that's why I'm set up in front of this tree. Okay, a lot of guys hide behind the tree, and then you got to draw your bow, and then you're limited with your shots, so it creates, to me, problems. The best thing is to be on your knees in front of that tree, okay? All right, good deal. Just sit tight because he just bugled again right here in front of us. Now, Corky, the cool thing about it is that as a caller, I'm backing off from my hunter. I back off at least, 20 yards. I keep walking at least 40 to 60 yards from my hunter here. Okay, now he's a novice, he's just getting started. I normally have my hunter just sit there. I'll back out and I'll continue. I stimulated that bull to bugle with a cow call. I'm going to go ahead and I'll keep doing a combination like that. High, low, medium. I'll hit all my calls. Let that bull know that there's at least 4 or 5 cows over here feeding, carrying on conversation, and he bugled again. But this time, he didn't bugle in front of us. He bugled over to the left of us. And I know where Junior here is, sitting waiting for that bull, so my job is to back off to the right over here, and I'll move maybe 40, 50 yards, and while I'm walking over here, I'll keep calling with my calls. So I keep moving. Guess what? That bull moved on me again to the right. Now he's going to come in through right here. So what do? Is I move over to, the left, always opposite. And that's how this X zone works. And that bull, I keep calling. Guess what? He now bugled over there. He's trying. Most bulls are demanding. They bugle because they want the cows to go to him. Okay? And not us. We're playing hard to get here, and we're reciprocating that. And guess what? We're going to sit here and be patient. The good thing with this kind of setup is 75% of the time the wind is in our favor. Okay? And so anyways, I will keep calling like that. As soon as that bull gets to one spot, if he's over to my right, and he bugles 3 times from the same spot, more than likely he's going to stay there. And he's going to keep bugling from there, demanding you to go to him, and that's when I do this. Number 1, I start out with I have my cow call still going, that combination. I will slip in a little moan. That moan is telling those cows, quiet down, don't be talking so much, quiet down, but that lets the bull know, oh, now I know why those ladies aren't coming to me. It's because there's a bull over there holding them back. And I will tell you what, that moan bugle right there will entice that bull to come in. Now, a lot of times, if he doesn't or it's a little bit windy, and I used to always start out with the cow calls and then slip into a small bugle like this. You know, a little bugle, and you still can do that, but a moan or a little bugle, I tell you what, when he hears that, that bull's going to start. He's going to start getting excited. So when he starts bugling, what I like to do, as soon as he bugles, I like to cut him off with a little small bugle as well. So as soon as he bugles, right in the middle of his bugle, I hit him with that, real small bugle. And boy, he's going to pick it up even more. Now he's upset. He's going to sound it. You're going to hear that excitement coming from that bull. And that bull is walking in around 40 yards, so what are you doing? You're getting ready to shoot, so turn around and let's get ready to shoot because he's coming in. He's at 40 yards, come to full draw. There you go. He came to full draw, and that bull's coming in. He came to 20 yards. You're already at full draw, and guess what? He's standing there broadside for you. Did you shoot him? Let it go. Let him have it. All right, good deal. Let's hear it for this guy. I'll tell you what. Here you go. Thanks for helping me. Here's a couple videos. You enjoy those, okay? All right, good job.
He's already better than half the hunters I've ever had. He actually was ready.
There you go.
I had a guy one time, we had a bull that was just screaming, tearing it up all the way, and I called him Wisconsin Flash. This guy was from Wisconsin. Great whitetail hunter, but when it came to these things, it was another deal. And he got out there about 40 yards away, and the bull was just destroying a tree. It was up in Unit 9. I reached over and tapped him on the shoulder. I wasn't doing your deal, but I reached over and tapped him. I said, now's a good time to put an arrow on the string.
Oh, yeah.
He said, I forgot. I was so excited. I'm like, yeah, you can't just throw your bow at it. You can't.
Corky, that's why I carry these horns, especially when they come from South Texas.
Oh, yeah.
And they tell you how to call and when to call. You can't, no. Anyways. But, okay, the X zone, that scenario is where you're stationary right in the middle of the X. The hunter's there. We backed out as the caller. That's one way to use that X zone. The second way to use that X zone is, let's say you have a guy like Corky Richardson and a lot of the awesome experienced hunters out here in the audience. My job is if Corky's the shooter and that bull's bugling, my job is to keep that bull bugling, whether it's cow call or bugles, and just to keep them talking. And that way Corky can keep moving in. He sees patch of elk. He drops to his knees. He's ready. You know what? He's a small bull. I'm not going to take him. All right, I hear a turkey call, so therefore game's over. He's too small. Let's move out of here and go find some other elk or keep closing the gap. But guess what? He's a nice bull, and he's filled with cows, and maybe that bull in real life keeps moving away. You move in, he moves out. But Corky cannot let up. That's probably more of your style already. You keep closing the gap on that bull that's bugling. As long as I keep him talking, you know how to close in and keep moving in on him. Very important that you keep doing that. My deal is that I like to let Corky go at least 60 yards in front of me. As long as I can see this big guy's camo and he's moving, he knows better. He knows what to do up front. My job is to just stay there. Once I see Corky stop and I hear that bugle, that'll tell me if I need to move to the left or to the right. Are you with me? So, and you continue, when you're moving, continue calling. It's nice that I don't talk when I'm out there like I'm doing tonight, but you continue your calls to stimulate that bull, to keep up giving his location, and then that's when you seal the deal. Are you with me on that?
Yeah, people like hunting with me. I'm a walking blind, so.
Yep.
They said I've never had to bend over once because you can't bend over and I just walk behind you.
And that was perfect on that caribou hunt. He's over here doing this and I'm just walking. That was really cool. Now, let me share a big secret of mine. And really it might not be a secret. You might already be smarter than I am, but I'm going to share what I know. Calling the elk in the middle of the X zone really works. But let me tell you what's going to increase your odds even more when you're trying to suck in that bull with cow calls or bugles, is you got to have the wind at least 50% of the time. Let's say in this direction, the bull bugled over there, 50 in his favor and 50 in my favor. And if the wind's going in this direction, I'll guarantee you he's going to try to sweep over to the left and get that wind right and come on in. But if I have it in my face and it's perfect in my direction, man, that's going to turn into a 45-minute setup because he's not going to come in. He doesn't feel comfortable. These bulls are smart. These public land bulls are smart. So use that 50-50 rule. Now, the thing is, when you set up for a setup like that and the wind's coming 50 on his, 50 on my side, and it's going in that direction, will you stand up for me really quick? You're the hunter here, and you stood there. Let's move over here. And now you got to make a decision. As a caller, I know where he's at. I know where that bull's at. I will almost maybe even set up straight behind my hunter about 40 yards, and that bull's more likely going to come over here on his left. Okay? Now, it's his responsibility that if the wind's going directly, he's got to shoot him before he gets into that busted zone. Okay? That's very important. Now, on the other hand, I may try, and I know where he's at, so I may move in maybe 40 yards to his right, 40 yards behind him, and try to suck that bull in right here where he smells the elk and not the bull. Are you with me on that? So use some common sense, but at least I will tell you and I will assure you that your odds of calling in that bull when you have that 50-50 rule are going to be a lot better than they are when it's basically in your favor the whole time. Thanks a lot, and we'll give him a video as well. All right. Thank you, sir. All right. You bet. Okay. Where are we at?
We're at
2 minutes. All right, good deal. Okay, 20 seconds are yours. Where are we at so far? Any questions? Talk with your neighbor.
So, I understand the teamwork. What if you're hunting solo?
Okay, solo, great question. You'll see my video on YouTube, Ralph Ramos Hunt. And what happens is I use my call. He bugled. I haven't seen him yet. I keep closing in the gap. He bugled again. I keep closing the gap, and I keep closing in on him until I see a patch of elk or so. I keep closing in on him. I just can't get aggressive enough to just close that gap and try to seal the deal. When you're hunting by yourself, you've got to be more aggressive. And if the team is aggressive, you're going to get more opportunities to harvest an elk. It's just plain and simple.
another question to our left here with the red hat.
Yes. Yes, sir. Who has a question?
I'm going to ask you to repeat the question.
The question was, thank you, solo hunting.
Do the next one. Repeat the next question when it comes up.
We'll repeat it next.
All right. Yes, thank you.
We can't hear what they're saying, and then you're answering them. We have no idea what the question is.
Gotcha. Thank you. I'm too wired, but thank you for that. All right. You bet. Yes, sir.
For a novice caller, can a bad bugle do a lot of damage?
Can a novice caller do a lot of damage? I would say no, but it's best to, if you make a mistake, cover it up with some more good calling. And that's where practice kicks in. You know, I think the more natural you sound and without mistakes, the better. But if you make a sound, I've heard, bulls sometimes sound kind of like a mule or something, and I'm like, whoa, was that an elk or a mule? And all of a sudden, gosh, man, we have a hunter over here. We're walking and boom, there he is, busted. Okay, so don't give up on that. Other questions? Yes, sir.
So when you're going and you're using the X formation, are you guys, are there any kind of like patterns or kind of call patterns that you use to communicate back and forth with the person you're hunting with? Sure.
Okay, are there any patterns to communicate with hunter, shooter? I think the only communication I do is like a turkey call if the hunter's not going to do them, or we got busted or the wind shifted or something, that kind of communication. But I got to be honest with you, if I had another caller with me back here behind the hunter and we had two guys making 3 or 4 calls like we're doing, I got to be honest with you, I think that's better than having one guy. And I think it's just so much better. And especially when we start to bugle, he can cut me off while I'm starting to bugle and goes back and forth with some cow calls. The hoochie mama's going. And let me tell you, it sounds like a serenade, but that's elk talk. That's live action, and that's how they communicate. They're very vocal.
Coming back from the break, Corky starts off by talking about how to get in quiet and undetected in the mornings before the elk are at your spot. Let's jump back into the seminar.
We had the turkey hunting seminar, and we talk about that too, Ralph. It's really not where you roost a tree. It's how do I get back to where I roosted that bird in that tree in the dark and not run them off. The turkey hunting guys, that's the main thing. How do I get in there without a light and without a flashlight, and a cell phone are horrible. I can see your cell phone for 10 miles. When you know, and I know we all use that to look around. I'm just saying, that's an important thing. So, Ralph, I'll let you go again. Yes, sir.
I have a question.
Yeah.
How about red light? Like using
Red light's better. It's better, but the main thing is getting in there quiet where they don't know you're there and where they don't see you're there. Elk, you know, noise, I can tell you on an elk, that's one thing that you don't have to sneak around in sneaky feet. I like sneaky feet, but I've killed most of my stuff, I've killed with no shoes on at all. I like running around barefoot because it's really quiet. I never knew how much noise I was really making until we started doing videos. Videos pick up all that sound, and so we think we're sneaking along, and boy, we sound like a truck going through there. It's just crunch, crunch. So I started taking off my shoes. But either way, noise, elk on noise, they're big animals, and there's herds of them. You know, there's 20, 30. They don't pay attention to a log snapping and all that. Don't worry about that stuff. And I was talking with Todd earlier too. You know, there's a speeding zone, and when they're, you know, Ralph was talking about they're bugling and they're moving, and the bull is pushing that herd, and it really starts at daylight, because at daylight he wants to start getting them to where they're bedding at. What would you say, Ralph, the average bedding zone from where they feed to is in New Mexico? I know in Arizona it's quite a ways.
At least a mile and a half, if they're not being bumped, but if they're being chased. Normally, when you start behind the elk, when the elk are up on top, you're at the bottom. When you get to the top 30, down and almost on the other side, and you're just pushing them like that. So sometimes they could go 3 miles, you know, with that same pattern, but they go ways.
And I can tell you that I don't know that you kill really big bulls, and Ralph, you might disagree with me on this, but I think the bigger the bull, probably the less often that you call them in, correct?
That varies. And here's where I think, like earlier you said, you know, being out there first thing at light, yes, that's when most of your bugling action is happening. But let me tell you, those midday bulls, they've been in their beds for 2-3 hours already. Let's say 9 o'clock, it's 1 o'clock in the afternoon. If you hit them with some of these soft calls, they're going to try to give you their location. They may moan, bugle more. And then you hit them with a call and maybe get them to give it up. But I tell you what, midday is when you're going to be able to call in these bulls. And I'm fixing to get into what I call the most, the best experience out there hunting elk. And I learned so much, and it took me about 10 years to kind of figure out what was happening. But it's with bulls that are fighting each other. The herd bull is always on guard. And herd bulls, pretty much, they're bedded with their cows. And what happens with a herd bull while he's there trying to rest, there's always a satellite bull trying to move in his area. And one of those mornings where you hear the bulls that are just going nuts, even, 10, 11 o'clock, it's cool, let's say towards the latter part of September, where they're bugling all day long, they just will not stop. Those satellite bulls know there's 2 or 3 cows in that herd that are in heat, and what do is they challenge that herd bull. While that herd bull is chasing off this bull, guess what? Another satellite's moving in over here trying to steal his cows. So what does he do? He's running back over there and he's trying to fight that bull and he's trying to chase him off. And then what happens again? Another one's kicking in over here. So there he goes. And a lot of these herds, especially like in these lower cedars where you have like a bull that has maybe 30 cows, and there's 5, 6 bulls in the area, man, those herd bulls take a lot of beating, and they have a lot of fights chasing bulls off. And that's kind of like midday activity that, boy, man, those are the days that you got to be out there hunting all day. Really, after about the 16th of September, if you're not hunting all day, boy, you're missing out on a lot of opportunity by being at camp. And that's, I get excited about that, which is leading me into, we talked about the X zone. We talked about a stationary novice hunter. We talked about moving that X zone and closing the gap with an aggressive shooter, experienced shooter. And then we get into bedded bulls. They're already bedded. They're in there. I like to entice bulls by moving in. And even when I move in on a bull, I like to get within, let's say, 150 yards from that bull. A lot of hunters, you read articles and they say, oh yeah, when I was getting within 60 yards. Yes, a lot of times, yes, you can close in on a spot and stock situation. But for my kind of calling, I like to at least get in within 150 yards, get a good setup to be able to suck that bull in. A lot of times, what I like to do is I like to, when I get in and he's been kind of giving his location and he bugles every now and then, I like to move in 150 yards, set up, one caller here, or I'll produce one little bugle. Start out with a small bugle and then answer that bull. You want to argue back and forth and try to get that bull. He's like, man, what are those 2 guys over there, man? What's going on? What's happening over there? And if when I look at kids, and I deal with them every day as a principal, and thank goodness that, at this last year we had one fight and it was over a basketball. But as soon as that broke out, boy, all those little bucks, come in. They want to go see what's going on. That's the way the elk are. When they hear some fighting going on or arguing going on, they want to kind of get up. He may not come in and leave his cows, but he's going to kind of investigate on what's happening. You're getting too close. And that's when I'll just keep arguing back and forth. And pretty soon he's going to start popping his bugles. So I like to mess with that with these type of bulls. And then after maybe bugling for about a 15-minute session, and I'm talking bugling back and forth, what you want to go ahead and do then is might want to slip in a few cow calls in there. Let them know, there's some cows over there, and really, oh man, I didn't pick up on those ladies as we were moving in. So, that he might get up and come in towards you. But if you want to really stimulate these bulls, I got to be honest with you. This is why I hunt with horns. And this is what I carry, on these seminars, because I can't carry them in the, on the airplane or whatnot. But I would have minimal something like this. Little 6x6, little 5x5, cut it in the middle, drill you a, 1/4-inch hole, make you a lanyard. You can carry them around pretty easy. I never leave, when I go out hunting, I carry what I have right here. These are the calls I carry. But the way to use this is when you have a bedded bull, what I like to do is let's say a big old tree. We have a big old tree. I like to at least start out, bugling like I showed you a little while ago, arguing back and forth, and then I will park myself on my knees. Maybe it's best as we can see a little bit
For a minute
better.
there, I thought you were going to rake the podium. I'm like, they won't invite us back.
No, they won't invite us back. But let's say there's this big old tree right here, or even a deadfall right here. There's, I like to just drop my horn on the ground, and I'll start raking that tree. And I'll rake and scratch that tree and scratch, and then I'll start popping that horn. Rake, and pop that horn. Rake and pop. Sometimes I'll put my horns together, and then I will just scrape that tree. And you want a lot of sound like that that's going on, and raking and popping that tree. Lots of noise, lots of sound. And I'll guarantee you that bedded bull that's out there, 100, 150 yards, he's wanting what's going on over there. He will get up and he will come in. Not only that, but you'll have some alligator bulls, these silent bulls that aren't bugling, that will also sneak in. The thing about it is, when I do this and I keep raking, once I start, I don't stop. I start moaning and groaning. My valve is closed on my collar. There, it's open. And I'll keep popping that horn, just scraping and popping. Make sounds, elk sounds, moaning, groaning, and just keep raking that tree. And I'm going to tell you one thing, those bulls will come in. I've had Pete Shepley on bulls on that, Mike Strandland, Bowhunting World, Bruce Berry. These guys are just freaking out on how these elk come into these rattling sounds. But the thing about this is just don't stop doing that. You're going to see that when you start getting them, and then you start popping that horn also and raking that tree and popping it harder and louder, those bulls are going to get even more excited, and they're really going to come in. Now, that's one way of doing it. I use a lot of that raking and popping, with my calling. Sometimes I won't even argue back and forth. I want to see what this bull looks like, and I'll start raking and kind of almost just depending on that sound. Now, that's one technique that works good, and that's on a bedded bull. The other one that works really well is when you have a bull, and you guys already know this. I know if you've been elk hunting, you move in on that bull and he's moving away. You move in, he moves away. He's headed towards his bed. Wherever he's headed, he's got his own world. He ain't going to come in for nothing. I tell you, if you have a 6x6, you and your buddy have a 6x6 shed, and you start hitting them together like bats and cracking those horns, let me tell you, that's how you're going to turn that bull that's going away from you to turn around and come see what's happening. Let me tell you, that it works like magic. I was totally, just amazed. I'll never forget my first encounter. I was in the Gila, a public unit, a lot of hunters, and bulls were talking early in the morning. They got to going, and we're chasing this one bull, and he's going. We'd move in. He kept going. All of a sudden, we find this one bull, and where's the little pointer? I might even have a picture on that PowerPoint. But this bull, we found him, and I'll talk about glunking here in a little bit, but this bull right here on the bottom right, we're cruising by, and we find this dead bull on the ground, and I'm like, holy buckets, what happened here? And anyways, the bull was thrown, his skull cap was detached, and the other horn was thrown about 14 yards, 12 yards off to the side. I'm like, man, this thing got into a big old fight. I'm like, well, I'm not leaving this bull here, man. I sawed off the other side. Let's carry him off. We'll notify the game and fish, when we get there, let them know where it's at and everything. We'll turn in the horns. Hopefully they'll let us have them, which he did. But anyway, we had those horns already, and this bull kept going and going. So we started banging those horns together, and boy, that bull turned around and he came in. He came in once, twice, and he was still looking at us. So we just kept, and we're standing there in the open. Now, the thing about it is you've got to be, I still say the bigger, the better the horns. Something like this is the bare bone minimum. I know somebody's going to ask, will mule deer antlers work? I don't think they're big enough. That's why I kind of get a kick out of these little boxes and stuff that, they sell. I don't think they're big enough. You need a real shed or a big horn. Again, the bigger, the better. What questions do you have with that? Do we have any questions so far? Yes, ma'am.
The number when you did that real big combine of those?
The bugle?
Yeah. I just want to know what you said.
What did I say? When I screamed? Boy, I just wanted to let them know that I was upset at you and you just weren't coming my way, and I'm demanding you to get over here right now. You know, when Dad or Mama says, you better get over here, little girl, that boy, even worse than that, he was upset. Yeah. Boy, did she stump me or what, man? Yeah. You want this horn to knock it over my head? Because
she got me earlier too on the pink rifle out there. So.
That's right. That's right. Okay, so.
Got a question back here.
Okay, yes.
Right here.
Yes, sir.
This isn't related to the shed to the calls, but I was wondering if I know you're you seem a lot like an archery hunter. I was wondering if you thought a 6.5 Creedmoor would be a good elk rifle for a beginner.
Okay, is a 6.5 Creedmoor a good rifle for elk for a beginner? Okay. You know what? I did have a woman hunter last year. She used a 6.5 Creedmoor. She had a 127 Barnes TTSX bullet. It did its job on there. One shot.
For a
Cow. Shot placement is everything. If I would recommend maybe a 270 or maybe a 30-06, 308. Possibly, you know.
God speaking.
Not everyone has a 300 rum or a 300 win, but shot placement is everything.
It is. If you hit them real perfect, but a BB real perfect will do too good. Also, 6.5 Creedmoor carry lots of bullets. You're going to need them if you're going to hunt elk with them. So anyway, I'm not a 6.5 Creedmoor fan. Anybody recognize that? Anyway.
I'm going to be a smart aleck, but a 6.5 Creedmoor is less effective than an arrow?
You're asking a dyed-in-the-wool archer. I'm going to tell you yes. Yeah. I'd rather, those of you guys that hunted a lot of stuff, Ralph, you've guided a lot of stuff. Animals die quicker with a bow shot than they do a rifle shot. And I don't
if
know
you hit them in the boiler room.
If you hit them in the boiler room, yeah.
And that's where shot placement, knowing your limitations. I'm not going to argue 6.5 versus an arrow. I'm not going to say the 6.5 is better than a 30-06. You put it in the boiler room, shot placement is everything. I know a lot of the guides up in the White Mountain. They use 6.5 Creedmoor with that Hornady ELD bullet. They're killing elk with that gun. Would it be my first preference? Probably not over a 300 win. But if you have a kid and you're proficient and you're using a good solid rest, know your limitation, 100, 150 yard shot, 200 yards. I think, again, putting in the boiler room is the ticket. All right. Where are we at right now? I know that elk has provided me with a lot of success with versatility, and that's good. Yes, ma'am.
I'm just looking for cow tips, like how do we get the elk close enough to this guy's Pikachu with a 6.5 Creedmoor?
The question was...
Go ahead. The question was, how do we get a cow hunt with a 6.5 Creedmoor, or basically get them a shot, out in the field? And I know there's probably a lot of cow hunters in here, and cow hunting is sometimes more difficult than bull hunting, okay? Especially, it depends on the unit. But I think covering ground, and again, I would definitely cover it in a vehicle. I totally agree with the ATV. You scare them off, you wise them up a lot more, they will take off. But I would definitely, if you're hunting out of a vehicle, know your law. I know that in New Mexico they did change it. Now you can pull over on the side of the road and get a shot. If you're on a highway, you can pull over. If there's a fence, you got to be on the other side of the fence. If there's no fence, you can pull over and actually use your door as a rest as long as you're off the road. So I don't know what the law is in Arizona, but
not in Arizona.
Yeah,
sorry.
Yeah.
But
Corky, and I'll bring this one up. I was on the Game Commission for 6 years, and I got to be honest with you. Whether 6.5, 300, a shot off the door, our main goal is harvest objective. Yeah. And when you look at the science behind that, And I think this is a great time to talk about this because we got to look at our data. Data drives need and need drives change. I'm a firm believer in that. I think knowing and relying on our biologists, I think you all ought to get involved with your commission and attend these meetings and voice your opinion. New Mexico, Arizona, we've got problems with wolves. We got serious problems. A wolf will consume 2.3 elk in 1 month, 30-day period. Right now in the Gila and New Mexico, we have 109 wolves estimated, what they're telling us. I got to be honest with you, I think we have more like 170. But let's use their data. 109 times 2.3, that's about 2,500, 2,800 más o menos elk in 1 year. We took them to court, federal court, New Mexico Game Commission, and guess what we won? We got their recovery plan finally from them. We forced them to give us their goals with that, and guess what? Their goal is now 300 between Arizona, New Mexico, and guess what? We got Mexico in the equation. Gosh, 90% of the historic range is in Mexico. And we weren't even having conversations with them? By golly, we're doing something wrong here. That's where they originated, but yet now they've pushed them into deep Arizona and New Mexico where they weren't even historically there from the beginning. But we're dealing with that as it is. So here's their goal, 300 wolves. And they're wanting Mexico to get up to 100 wolves at least. And once they get to 100, and we have a total of at least 300, they'll remove it. But if Mexico never gets to that 100 and Arizona, and let me tell you right now, 109 wolves has been steadily increasing over this 20 some odd year period. They're going to hit that 109 threshold where they're going to just skyrocket. And they're going to produce wolves more than ever. Pups are going to be going. And what's going to happen then, you get to 300, that's between 85 and 10,000 elk per year. We have 18,000 elk in the greater Gila. We're done with elk hunting. So you need to get involved. You need to voice. You need to go out and vote. You need to, be a registered voter and get involved. I can't stress that enough. New Mexico, we just voted in a governor that is totally against this, totally against pretty much hunting, that wants to take our gun rights away. All these things are happening right now. And just look at our whole country. Look at your borders and what's happening. Hey, my grandparents, came in from Mexico, but they did it the right way. And right now, they're just coming in, taking over. And you know what? We're living through this right now. But our kids are the ones that are going to be challenged down the road. These people that are coming in, and I tell these to my 8th graders. We had their 8th grade graduation. I challenge you parents to start telling your kids no and teach them what no means and teach them to have better work habits because we're enabling kids every day. Push them to the limit. Push them with outdoors. Push them with good work ethic because these people are coming in hungrier than ever and are going to take away. Look at our doctors that we have nowadays. Foreigners that are coming in. They did it right, whatever. But anyways, I'm getting into politics. But get involved. That's the bottom line. And it sounds like you all are involved here. Corky, I just love Arizona. You guys are organized. It's about conservation. It's about habitat. It's about wildlife management and doing it the right way. And I hope that today you got something out of our seminar here today. But let's have a summary. Let's give you about 30 seconds. Talk it over with your neighbor. And we'll have our final questions as we go. And we'll move forward. How much time do we have?
We still got, 13 minutes, something like that.
So that'll be perfect. 30 seconds, it's yours, you and your neighbor. What did you learn, and what questions do you still have?
Yes, sir.
Let's give them the 30 seconds.
Okay.
And we'll call on
You'll be
him
first in 18 seconds. You guys enjoy this? You enjoy Ralph's enthusiasm and all that good stuff? I think it's been pretty fun.
Thank you. All right. 30 seconds. Who was that? Yes, sir.
This year's archery elk hunt starts on a full moon. What's your experience with that?
Full moon, how does it impact elk behavior? I think it stimulates elk behavior. They're going to breed obviously at night. Does it slow me down with what I shared with you today? Not at all. I think what's going to happen here is, yes, maybe those bulls may be moving into that bedding zone a little bit earlier, but let them rest. A couple hours, you get back in there, hit them with cow calls, bugle, whatever entices them to give up their location, move in, go in there and kill them. I don't let it slow me down. They're not going to wait for you. Look how hard it is to get an elk tag. Again, I'm a principal. I got to be back to school, Monday morning, so I got to get it done, and that's just been my aggressive approach with that. Yes, sir. Great question. Yes, sir.
Do you feel like the average hunter is not aggressive enough?
Is the average hunter not aggressive enough? Definitely not. I know there's some guys like Randy Ulmer here in Arizona, super aggressive, hunts with tennis shoes, pushes those to the limit. He's in shape, top shape. I don't think they're aggressive enough. I mean, you can't get in better shape than that. I think the better in shape you are, the better you're going to do. But push them, keep pushing them, and that's the way we hunt them. And Corky's the same way. I know that. Yes, sir.
So you're calling with the lost calf call, early December, late November hunt?
Calling with a lost calf call early December, late hunt, absolutely. Again, we're driving around. It's a great call to stop them if you jump them. Real loud, and they stop and they just look at you. Again, maybe that 6.5 Creedmoor might put them down. No.
Take lots of shells.
But let's say you're walking a ridge line or you see a trail. You're driving, man, that's a good trail. That might be, if you haven't seen anything and you want to go in there, midday, walk that trail, go in there and then do the lost calf call. You may be walking that trail in stealth mode, not as aggressive because you don't know what's there. Walking, taking your time, glassing a little bit while you're calling. But definitely it would be an approach to do that. Okay? All right. What other questions?
We had a question back there. Yes, sir.
Bedded elk during the rut, in the middle of the day, how close would you recommend getting in?
Bedded elk, middle of the day, how close do I get in? About 150 yards. Find you a good spot. Again, you can either try him out, maybe with what stimulated him to give up his location. If it was cow calls, stick with cow calls. If you know he's there, moan, bugled at you or whatever, then hit him with some arguing back and forth. I'd try that next, and then I'd hit him with some rattling and rake him and suck him in, and hopefully you take him. Good luck.
One thing to remember on elk too, in the morning they'll call a lot, like I'll walk with you, I'll feed with you, but middle of the day, what do we got? 0? 10 minutes.
10 minutes.
But I don't want to sleep with you. So if you do stay out there where they're at, and a bull during the rut, he'll bugle every 20 minutes or so, I would say.
Oh, yeah.
They bugle from their bed. They just lay there and bugle. I think it's an attempt to say, any other girls? And that's what they're saying. But they don't want to sleep with you, and they don't like you sleeping with their girls. So that's what he's saying, that there's some really good success during the middle of the day. You talk about the aggressive thing. I want to cover 2 things on that. Our guys are successful, and I think that we have had success over the years because we are more aggressive. I will beat you guys. Most of you guys will not be up earlier than me to go elk hunting. I'm telling you right now. My son last year, he never slept all night. And he would run around. We had San Carlos tags. There's not a lot of elk on San Carlos, believe it or not. We'd have to go all over. And he would roll in at about 4 in the morning and said, Dad, get ready, let's go. Where we need to go is 22 miles over here. I got 2 of them that are bugling. And that was 22 miles away on a dirt road, but he was working hard at it. So that is it. But also on aggression, we run into this Arizona every year. You hear the stories. You're going to find a great water hole that you want to hunt. And guess what? You forget that there was 300 other guys that drew that tag, or 299 other ones that drew that tag with you as well. You may get there, and they may be somebody already there. So what do you do? What's the deal you work out? I can tell you that you need to be kind, and you need to be a gentleman about it. or a gentle lady about it. You got to work it out. We don't own the woods. You don't own that water hole. You don't have any right to that, even though you put your stand there and your blind there and all that. I personally would never set in another guy's stand or another man's blind, but if you do, I've had people in my stuff before, you work it out. Hey, you're here already. I'm not going to mess up your hunt. This is an even day. How about you hunt even days? I hunt odd days. Or you hunt afternoon, we'll switch it up. Work it out with them before you get into a confrontation. Every year we hear about it and it's horrible. I think it's horrible, especially horrible for those of us that are Christian men or women. But I think that just as hunters, as respect to each other, work something out, because you do got to share the resource. And remember that, you know, there's dove hunters and there's deer hunters and everybody's up there scouting and doing all their thing, and you just got to be cool. So I just tell everybody that every seminar, to remember that, to just be cool up there. Don't get all wound up. I think God blesses you if you take the high road. Sometimes the high road is walking away. And don't short stand a guy. You know they're coming in down a trail and you're like, oh, you set the water, and you go 50 yards behind the water and sit there and, you know, you bugle and go crazy. I think that's crazy too. But I'm telling you, if you take the high road, it works out. It's always worked out for us in the past. It just seems like if you do that, you get blessed on that stuff. So any questions on that? There is no legal law, I can tell you, on water holes. So you don't want to get, I think it's horrible if we get game and fish involved ever in that to settle disputes. I think we ought to be, everybody agree with that? I think we ought to be able to just talk about each other and say, hey guy, I'm hunting there today, you hunt there tomorrow, it'll work out. If you get one, call me, or I'll help you, whatever. My nephew just got off of it's a little different deal, but our bison deal up there, if you work it out together and you all kind of work out, what'd they kill, Christian? 9 out of 10. 9 out of 10. You know, the one guy that did not get one, and today was his last day, and it's dark, he can't shoot one. He was not working with the other 9, so I think that, I don't know if he got one. I actually do hope he got one, but I think that's a little bit funny that 9 guys are working together as a team and they got it done. And the one guy that was off there being a solo, he didn't get it done, as far as, unless he got it today, and I hope he did get it. But I'm just saying, work with people, talk to each other. You don't have to tell them your secrets. I'm not going to tell you. If I find a great big bull, I am not going to tell you where I found him and where he's at. The nice only goes so far, you know. There again, I'll camp with you, I'll eat with you, but if I find one of these around, chances are you're not going to get that unless you paid, and you better paid good. So anyway, any other questions?
Yes, sir.
You're relatively new to elk hunting. Would you have a recommended book or program that you would tell somebody to look at?
If you're a novice hunter, just getting into the elk hunting, what book? One of my DVDs, Hunting All the Right Moves, I think is very basic about what I covered here tonight. I do have a few left here, but as far as a book, I don't know. I think there's a lot of them out there now.
You guys have a wonderful thing now that we didn't have when we started. It's called YouTube. Yeah. I'm telling you learn a lot. What did we watch today at home? We watch YouTube. I told Ralph, this is all I do. I watch YouTube. I'm learning how to try and shoot better by watching the guys that shoot real good off of YouTube. They all do the same stuff, and they aim a lot better.
One of the key things also is to look at these videos and visualize yourself sitting in there. When do I draw? You know, where's that shot placement? You know, simulate. I came into full draw. It's all mindset, you know, knowing when you take that shot. Boy, I know he just shot, but would I had shot then or not? Put yourself in those shoes. I think the more your mind is ready for that, the better off you're going to be when that happens. In, you know, visualize, you know, that situation. All right. Yes, sir.
For the novice hunter, would you go with the diaphragms or with the reed call?
Novice hunter, would you go with a diaphragm or reed call? I like them both. I would definitely get a single reed diaphragm. Again, keep it in your mouth at least 20, 30 minutes and then start playing with it. You know, practice makes perfect. Whatever you're comfortable with. I like these blue Primo. I think they're the easiest ones to blow with. I think these reed calls are nice as well. There's a biting call as well. All you do is press on it, bite and blow. So play around with some of these calls. I think this is the easy one, the Hoochie Mama squeeze call and diaphragm. So you take the pick, go out there
and buy extra replacements before you go, because you will end up buying some. And I can tell you that at Clint's Wells, they're about $49, and you can't wait to pay for it. And your wife's going to ask, you paid $49 for this little piece of plastic? Well, I was already there, and it was too far to go back to me. So I'm telling you, they're a lot cheaper if you buy them here. So,
correct.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Do you use game cameras at all or during the hunt?
Do I use game cameras at all? No, sir, I don't. In fact, we outlawed satellite cameras, drones in New Mexico. I think fair chase is what's important. I think, gosh, if it was up to me, long-range rifles should be outlawed as well. I think a long-range shot is about 400 yards. But to me, it's about the experience and trying to suck in that bull. But I respect, whatever you choose to use, and if the law permits you to do that, I respect you on that. Okay.
Game cameras are good for kind of letting you know what's in an area, but I'll tell you what's going to happen with elk. Right now, so I got kind of some reports on elk in Arizona. They're bigger than they have ever been. All of this rain is unbelievable. So if you've got a tag this year, good for you. There will be some monster killed. You guys saw the one that they killed the other day, the raffle bull. The raffle bull shot 1 month before they're done growing, scored 440. Wow. That's kind of a big deal. My son has that unit actually where they shot it. So I said, well, there's one gone. And he's like, no, there'll be another one. They got another guy that's got the tag too. So they're really, really good this year. Cameras are good, but around August 12th to the 15th, they're going to scrape all those pictures you got of elk coming into a water hole. They're going to scrape that velvet off their head. And when they do that, this bull's going to go 10 miles that way. This one's going to go 8 miles that way. They spread out. They go looking for cows. And then they're not friends no more. Right now, they're all friends. You can go out and scout right now. You'll find big groups together. They're all friendly. But as soon as they get that velvet off, they go into herd mode. They go into getting their elk. But cameras, remember, you'll get so upset at the hunting world on a camera because you'll set your camera out there, you'll lock it, you'll put a chainsaw on it, and they will have cut the tree down to take your camera. You will be upset over a camera, I can tell you. So buy one that people like, because might as well. I used to, for fun up here, I would ask you guys what kind of camera you want, because I've been buying for some of you for every year. So I'm just telling you, it's a thing that if you use cameras, it's an aggravating thing. I see guys coming back, and those cameras are expensive. So it's up to you. I mean, don't step where you know it's going to be a bad zone. But I like a deal that I know where to go without cameras. Cameras do help a lot. They do. But I know where to go from years of experience, and I hope you guys get that knowledge too. Where do you go even if the cameras aren't working? Because we're headed that way. As you know, it got tested in Arizona this year, and they came that close to making it happen, and it's just going to come again. We did fix drones. Yeah, that's kind of a deal. But we have a lady in pink here that is just dying for her 18th question tonight.
Yeah.
Yes. You're going to have to, I can't hear you, honey. How old should you be elk hunting? You're old enough right now to be going elk hunting, but you get to legally shoot one when you're 10.
All right, yeah. See, she stumped you too, Corky.
Yeah, she did. Oh, yeah. She got me on that gun out there. So.
All right. What final questions? Yes, sir.
What are the bulls eating during the rut? I mean, is there a difference once they're kind of...
What they're eating?
Yeah.
Okay, what are the bulls eating during the rut? I think they're just trying to survive. They'll eat anything. I think with all the exercise they're getting, fighting off other bulls, chasing the cows, moving them, they're probably eating everything they can when they can. I think they're more interested in keeping all the other bulls away from their cows, especially the herd bull, with that.
The answer to that is before the rut, they're eating everything. They put on a lot of weight. Then once the rut starts, they eat some, but very little. Mm-hmm. They lose a bull elk November. He'll be down 150 pounds from what he was early on. They look sickly. Their bones show and everything. So you're going to see that when you guys on the late rifle hunts. You're going to have be shooting bulls with great big racks with ribs showing. because they just deplete themselves down. All that for girls, you guys. I don't know. I've always thought that elk kind of had it figured out. They got a deal made. It's like, look, we're going to be buddies all year long, and then about mid-August, we're going to split up a little bit. I'm going to fight you for all the girls, but we're only going to fight for about 6 weeks, and then we're going to be buddies again, and we leave the women. They can do whatever they want to do, so it's not a bad deal. So, on that note, I just want to tell you all, remember what this is about. Like that little, you here is, you're the father, or you something to do with this young lady right here on the end? Okay. Good job. I remember the times with my family and stuff. Don't negate your family. Take your kids hunting. They act like that little girl says, when can I go elk hunting? Now. You should be taking her now. Sorry, I'm not telling you what to do, but I am telling you what to do. Take her now. But remember that, and it's who you're with. Don't hunt with bad people. Don't, especially with your kids. And I'm telling you this because I've been through all this, and Ralph has too. If you got bad people that you hunt with, and you know who they are. If you got a guy that you're always having to watch because he's got bad habits, don't bring him around your kids. Say, you know what? That's another time. I'm just saying. It's more about the experience and all that. We're all in it to kill elk. I mean, it's not about, we're not out there picture taking. Some of us may be, but it's those memories that go way back. My dad's 82 this year. I cherish and he's the toughest guy I know in this whole room. And he's got an elk tag this year. And so is my wife, so is my daughter-in-law, same place. I told them, I'm not hunting with you guys, I'm hunting with my dad. 82 years old, I cherish every memory that I can with my dad. And it's kind of cool that he's 82 years old, running around these mountains like he is. So, and all that, we talk about, and I'm gonna close at this and then give it to Dave. But we talk about the man upstairs. And I say this every time, it's not the man upstairs. It's God. He died for you a long time ago. And he gave you an option with his son dying. He gave you an option to visit and be with him. And all you got to do is accept him. You got to accept Christ as your Savior. And it's funny because I hear hunters saying, well, I really get some clarity with the man upstairs. It's more than that. It's Christ in our lives. And that's why I like hunting. It's clarity. I don't have hopefully my cell phone doesn't work. And all of the outside influences don't work. And one thing Ralph and I share is a passion for hunting, a passion for helping others. And I know that someday we're going to be in the great beyond hunting elk together every day. I said hell is drawing a Unit 9 elk tag every day, and you have to work. Heaven is getting a Unit 9 elk tag every day, and you're retired, so you get to go the whole time. So I'm just telling you, have a good time out there. Enjoy your family. Enjoy your people that you're with. Don't let crazy stuff happen. If you got a spot that's a lot of tension hunting, go somewhere else. These units are big, and you can get around. You don't have to be where everybody is and having a bad time and being mad at each other. That's crazy. Let the crazies be crazy, okay? I hope you guys had a great time today. Ralph, thank you so
Arizona.
Much.
Hey, you guys are great. Keep up the great work. Stay involved. Stay involved.
Thank you again so much for all of your support. Stay tuned for more great episodes featuring Jim Kimes of JJ's Rocks and Skulls, Sean Durkee of Alpen Fuel, Sub 7 Studios, and more from Ralph Ramos. Don't forget to subscribe, hit those 5 stars, leave me a little review. It'll really help me out. Have a great day, everyone. We'll see you in the next episode.